I haven't finished my response to your question about the family. I probably should tell you what I did. It goes back a number of years that I, under the advice of our auditors, we had what we call a family trust. And the 4 children were at that time the family, and they all had shares in the business. Over time, the rules changed where family trusts are concerned. And where preceding that I had control, I did not have control any longer. In fact, the ownership of the company was my 4 children. So I didn't oppose that. I was happy to see that. And when I decided that I would leave my son to run the business, I got an annuity which assures me of an income, plus the fact that I had drawn a certain amount of capital out of the business in the past and had it invested, and I was reasonably comfortable. And the business is a very valuable business and owned by my 4 children.
So that's how you passed on the process?
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the questions I'd asked you earlier, if there was anything you had wished you had done, and you gave a very interesting answer.
I answered that I wished I had taken an MBA. I think that as I listened to what MBAs learn and their capabilities, I think that it would have given me the ability to probably expand our business much beyond what it is today. And it's a good business, but I think, like, we entered the United States, and we aborted our entry into the United States, partly because Bob passed away. But secondly, I didn't have people ready to take over the business in the United States. But I think I would have known a lot of things about running a business that it took me time to learn. And so 55 years, I guess, but I might have shortened that time span up.
Is there anything you would have done differently? Is there any problem that you faced looking back you said, I wish I'd done this differently?
Well, there was a period, we developed our business in an interesting way. I had a merchandise manager who was very creative. And we developed our business into separate collections. They were private labels, but there were 4 of them, and they all had good consumer recognition. And I stuck with these labels thinking that I could fend off the entry of universal brands into Canada and wage, competitive war with them and come out holding our own. But I found the demand for some of these products was so strong amongst our clientele that when we weren't the first to get into one of these products, they were going to our competition for it. So I decided that I'd have to reverse our position and begin to take position in these universal brands. And today we are, without a doubt, the major retailer and distributor of certain products. Like this weekend, we had 2 trunk shows in the store where there were representatives from Europe, from Italy to be exact, from Brioni and Tom Ford. And they told me that they do these events for other retailers. And our store is the #1 store in their volume-wise and in their terms, the kind of relationship that we have with customers. And they love coming to work with us because they just find that the customer is just that much more receptive because of our salespeople.
Going back to your family and your 4 children, I understand that Andrea is an entrepreneur out in the West Coast. And she spent, I believe, 11 years with the company?
Andrea is not on the West Coast. Andrea is here in Toronto. Okay. And she was about 11 years with the company, working essentially in the internet. She now has a small business which she markets leather products, a couple of leather products on the internet. And I think she's happy.
Did you ever see her as your successor?
No, I didn't see her as an entrepreneur at all. And I didn't want to burden the business or my son with family that wasn't going to be able to be part of the culture. And she never professed being one, and she never had the ability to do it. But she's not a failure in life, you know.
Harry, do you think a woman can run a menswear business?
Yes, I can. Yes, I do, rather.
Are there examples out there?
Well, I thought Carol Lerner, who was running Holt Renfrew up till this past January, was such a person. She'd been here for about 4 or 5 years. Unfortunately, they came to a parting of the ways. But I've met women in Brooks Brothers and Saks Fifth Avenue who are managers, senior managers in the company. Whether they actually make the final decisions, I don't know. But I feel that women have the capability to do that, certainly. And I tell you that women are very productive on the floor of our store. Men love dealing with women. And something about a woman, what can I tell you?
So why hasn't Harry Rosen expanded to female clothing?
We were in women's clothing for a period of time. I guess it was about 1978 or so. There was a sudden demand for men's tailored suits. And the women's stores weren't providing it. Women were becoming career people, and they needed their so-called business uniforms. And so we, like a number of merchants in Canada and the United States, went into the women's tailored clothing business. And what did we have? Navy blue suits and gray flannel suits. And second season, we had gray flannel suits and navy blue suits. And women said, well, I've got that, you know. They shop often and they spend a lot more money than men. What if show us new things? Well, we didn't know what to do. You know, we only knew the one end of the business. So we began to buy from merchants, rather vendors that sold women's wear. And the result was that we were just like any other women's store. And I felt that what we needed was a point of view in women's wear that really juxtaposed beside the Harry Rosen menswear business and had a character that was unique and made the same kind of statement in terms of quality and service. And we weren't doing that, and so I got out of it, like a lot of the merchants that got into it for the same reason. Today, I think I know exactly what I'd like to do in women's wear, and I'm not going to get to do it, and it'll be up to my son to make that decision. But I do think the Harry Rosen brand has the kind of appeal for quality and service, and women are constantly saying, why isn't there a women's store like this? You know?
So if Harry Rosen was to consider
that his friends who were graduating, he was in the joint program between LLB and MBA, and so he was staying a year longer, but that his friends were going out to buy their suits for their interviews, etc., and they weren't going to Harry Rosen. And this really struck me as being a real blow, because I knew how critical it was as I watched stores across North America go out of business. Why did they go out of business? It was because they were not attractive to the next generation. And I felt that was an essential thing to do. And what I'd seen in the United States was Ralph Lauren and his colorful sportswear. And I felt if I could get into the sportswear business in a meaningful way and have the Ralph Lauren product, I could bring young customers in the store. So I made a deal with a source here in Canada to acquire the license, and I guaranteed them the $750,000 minimum they needed to get the license. And they gave me an exclusive